guys, and here it is. Here's the engine, looking super sad back here, but yeah, it's finally time to give this thing some attention and start digging into it. So initially, I'm just gonna get right down into it. So I did find some damage already. So this is the mount over, like on the front of the engine. This is gonna be on the driver's side, and if you look at that. So we got pieces right here broken off. But this is good because initially when I first looked at it, when I was first seeing it, I thought I saw a crack going all the way in, and I thought, like when I first saw it, I thought the block was done. So I was just kind of bummed out. And once I kind of took the mount off and everything, once this was out of the way and I could get a closer look, I can see inside the threads are pretty much messed up. All of this is all broken off. So it's definitely not good. This is not a good situation at all, but it definitely could have been way worse. It could have just damaged all the way into like the water jacket inside and made this block completely useless. So at the moment, I don't think it's completely useless. I think I can still use this block and keep this whole like engine setup that I have right now. Because initially I was thinking that I was gonna have to buy a whole new F23 to get the block, and yeah, so that's good news so far. So at first glance, so far so good, but yeah, time to start tearing this thing apart. Because I didn't get into it before because obviously I just went MIA for a while. Another thing that I did find, I found another crack back here. This is like the back motor mount, the T bracket. So yeah, on the transmission, it got kind of chipped right there. And then I have showed this before, but over here there is a little bit of damage on the mount for the slave cylinder. So this is where the slave cylinder gets mounted on the transmission, and there's a little chip there. Other than that, initially I'm not seeing any other damage on the exterior of the engine. So yeah, that's good. Definitely could have been way worse. So pretty hyped on that. So I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much just gonna start taking this thing apart. I'm gonna need to get the transmission off. From there, I could actually get it on an engine stand. And for today, I think I'm just gonna be focusing on getting the head off of the block. And the main reason for that is I really want to check out the condition of the cylinder walls, because before I got in the accident, I was having some issues with blow-by, like excessive blow-by. So I'm just thinking that the break-in process of the engine just didn't go so well. And I'm thinking I either damaged the piston rings, or something with the piston rings just didn't set in properly on the cylinder walls. So definitely want to check that out. I might want to check the condition of the bearings also, but I'll get into that in another video. I'm not going to focus on that today. For today, I'm just trying to get the head off of the block, check the condition of the cylinder walls, and just make sure that was all running correctly. I'm not going to take the oil pan off or anything like that. So as I'm going through the video, I'll try to kind of explain some stuff, because I know a lot of you guys out there have a lot of questions on this thing. I have gotten a lot of questions and stuff after the first video. So as I'm going through it, I'll try to answer a lot of the frequently asked questions that I have. So as I'm kind of taking it apart, I'll go through it. I'll kind of go over the parts, and in the description, I'll put like a full parts list on everything. I know a lot of you guys have been asking to give you links and give you like where I found parts and stuff. So I just want to let you know, it's extremely difficult to find parts for this engine. It's hard to find parts for CB7s. So I know the struggle a lot of you guys are going through. I went through that struggle as well. In the description, I'll put the parts that I use. And from there, like each of those parts, you're gonna have to like piece everything separately. There's not really one company that makes everything for this car, you know? So that's a whole nother issue there. But other than that, let's get into it. round 2 and taking the transmission off. I just forgot to take the flywheel cover off. So the flywheel cover was just kind of like butting up against the block right here. So I unbolted it. It's still right here. I unbolted it so it shouldn't get in the way. We'll see. All right, and here we go. I just got the transmission off. So, I mean, everything still looks pretty much brand new with only like a couple 100 miles on this engine. But yeah, so from here, I'm gonna need to take the like clutch and flywheel assembly off. That way I can actually get this thing on an engine stand. And then from there, get the head off. So yeah, progress is going good so far. And so far I haven't seen anything very alarming. The only thing that's really sketchy is this crack right here, but once I get the head off, we'll be able to see the damage. But I don't think it goes any further than that, honestly. But yeah, we'll get there. Yep, brand new clutch. There's the flywheel. All right, guys, this is where I'm at so far. So transmission's off. I got my stock F22 block off the engine stand, and I have my engine ready to go on the engine stand. So I'm just gonna need to get some help from my dad, so we can we're just gonna pick this thing up by hand and try to put it on the engine stand. If that doesn't work, we have the cherry picker. We'll be able to lift it, get it on there. Once I have the engine on the stand, then I can get started on taking the F22 head off and see if there's any further damage or see if there's anything that I need to address from here. All right, and right now, while I have the engine a little bit dissected, I feel like I should kind of go into some of the parts that I have into it right here. So as far as the transmission, this is a T2W4 transmission, so T2W4. So this is the transmission out of the Accord Euro R. So out of the H and F series engines, this is the shortest gear ratio transmission that came factory, and comes factory with the LSD. So that's super good. But yeah, other than that, if you see right here, I do have this Ktuned bracket for my shift cables, and this is just so I can run a Ktuned shifter with K-series shift cables on an H-series transmission. And then for the clutch setup, you can see right here, this is an Exedy stage 2 clutch, or stage 3. Yeah, I think it's a stage 2 clutch, but you can see it's a 4-puck sprung clutch. So I did go with the sprung just to kind of keep it a little bit more streetable. And then over here, this is a Fidanza Lightweight flywheel. So that's like an 8-pound flight wheel. And over here on the front of the engine, I'm just running like a Bisimoto cam gear. And over here I have this Ktuned balance shaft elimination kit. So this kit's actually really cool. I have had a lot of people kind of like asking about this or telling me that I could have just taken the pulleys off and kept the balance shafts in there. And I mean, yeah, you can do that, that's fine, but just know that since these shafts are running on the inside, they actually have to have an oil supply. And if you're just taking away the pulleys, they're not turning, they're still getting oil pumped to those shafts, which is taken away from your engine's oil supply. So when you install this Ktuned kit, there's actually a part of the kit that gets installed on the inside of the engine, and it actually blocks off the oil ports that supply oil to the balance shafts. So when you install this kit, you actually get a bump up in oil pressure because that excess oil isn't being taken over to the balance shafts. They're actually being used throughout the engine. So that alone, that all by itself is a performance advantage. Along with that, this part of the assembly kind of gets a little bit complicated. So right here, I have my stock F22 block. So you can see right here, this one does get a little bit more complicated. So if you were like this right here, if you take it apart, this has a whole little like gear assembly inside all on its own, because the pulley isn't right here. The balance shaft is actually like right here. So it has a gear inside that actually spins another gear that spins the balance shaft. So just taking off the pulley isn't necessarily like the solution to it all. I would still, like, if you are interested in eliminating the balance shafts and stuff, I would definitely look into getting that Ktuned balance shaft elimination kit, because they also sell some that you actually get an OEM oil pump, which is like this whole assembly here. So they actually supply it with a OEM oil pump, and then they press in the block offs for you. So you can just install it, boom, call it a day. If you don't feel comfortable with like tapping and doing stuff like that on the inside of the engine, then you can just take it to the machine shop and have a machine shop install the inside of the kit for you, you know? So along with the bump in oil pressure, it does also really simplify this whole assembly. So when it comes time to service it, if you ever have to service it or take it apart after getting in an accident, you can take this whole front side of the engine apart way faster than taking that apart with all the pulleys.
Okay, it's on.
All right, here it is. Everything's still looking super fresh in here. So this whole rocker arm assembly is pretty old. It's off my original engine. It kind of makes sense that it's all like bronzed up like this because it is old and abused. But look at still how fresh the head is. Yep. I did mention this in the video where I assembled the engine, but one really cool thing about the F22 head is you can actually reach all of the head bolts or head studs while the head is actually assembled. So right now I'm going to be able to take it apart while the head is actually assembled, so I can keep everything all together. I don't need to worry about taking apart the rocker arm assembly. I don't need to take the camshaft off or anything. So that makes it super easy, makes it super quick to be able to take this head off, check head gaskets and stuff like that. So again, a really big thing with this engine and with this build was serviceability, and so far so good. Everything has been really easy to take apart, liking it so far. But now it's time to fight these head studs and get this head off. Alright guys, so this is where I'm at with the engine so far. So I already got the head off. I kind of checked everything over, kind of went through it, and I mean, this thing still rotates like new. It rotates like butter. So with this being said, with it rotating like this, I mean, all my concerns with like the crank making contact, all that concern went out the window. I checked the tolerance, so I basically just pried on the crank and press it back, and it's not excessive. It's still pretty tight, so I think the crank's all good. I think the rotating assembly is just fine. From everything I've been looking at and from everything my dad's been telling me, because again, my dad is the expert, not me. I pretty much learned everything from my dad. He's the one who has been working with engines and with cars since he was a kid, so he knows a lot about engines and tuning and stuff. So he already went over and looked at everything, and what he's telling me is he thinks that initially the ring gap was just too big. So he's thinking that the ring gap that I used for this engine is more for like a boosted engine or for nitrous or something. So he's just saying that the ring gap is going to be a little bit too high for this, and he thinks that's what was causing the excessive blow-by. So we kind of went over it. We were kind of looking at the cylinder walls, and cylinder walls are looking great. There are a couple vertical lines that you can see that are from the rings, but overall everything's looking good. Pistons are solid. Yeah, but overall everything's looking super good. It's rotating good. So from here, before I actually like put anything back together or do anything further, the next time I come by, I'm gonna actually be taking one of the pistons out so I could actually check the rod bearings, check the main bearing, and actually just kind of like check the cylinder wall out a little bit and check that ring gap one more time, because I think what I'm actually going to end up doing before I actually put this thing back together, I think I'm going to order another set of rings and redo the ring gap and just have it with a tighter clearance. So the next time I get this thing running, it should have tighter ring gaps. It should be a little bit better for the compression overall, but overall it should be running the way it should have originally, or the way I wanted it to originally. So before, with all of the excessive blow-by, again, what we were thinking was either the cylinder walls, so the cylinder walls were possibly damaged, or the piston rings were damaged, because pretty much what was going on is it was just over pressurizing the crankcase. So with the crankcase being pressured, it was just causing a lot of excess blow-by, a lot of like oil vapor to be getting pushed out of the only place where it can, which was going to the lines of the catch can. So there was just a lot of excess blow-by, and it wasn't necessarily burning oil. Like there are little signs of it burning oil here, but that's not anything crazy for it to be having that much blow-by. So realistically, what we're thinking was going on is combustion was actually getting past the piston rings. So if combustion is getting past the piston rings, that means that either pistons are damaged, the cylinder walls could be damaged, the piston rings could be damaged, or the piston ring gap could be way too high. So that's what I'm thinking, because overall we were kind of checking it out and there's really no signs of anything like catastrophic going on for there to be that much blow by that we were seeing. So at this point, we're mainly thinking it's just the piston ring gap. So yeah, and get some new rings ordered. And then once those new rings come in, then from there we can actually take the pistons out, take the rods out, check everything over, and then put the new piston rings in with a new gap, set a tighter gap, and that should be better for like an NA application. And then over here on the block, I do want to do something about this. So there are a lot of options. I mean, this isn't the worst. It definitely sucks that this whole chunk chipped off, but nothing went over here. There's no little fractures, little cracks or anything that I can see. And from inside the thread, everything's looking good in there. So from here, some of the options are to either get somebody to weld on some excess material. Then from there, we can put like a thread cert, like a king cert or something like that to lock in place and actually make the thread stronger than it originally was. Or we can just kind of go through and put a king cert in just like that. But I would like to get some more material welded on here just to make it a little bit more strong. But yeah, other than that, I'm pretty much just gonna wrap the block up. The block's gonna stay here, engine and everything's gonna stay here. I really just wanted to tear into this thing just to kind of assess whatever damage there possibly was. And now that I have some peace of mind and knowing that the engine actually was running pretty damn good, then we're good to go. So now I know I'm not gonna have to be spending a crazy amount of money getting a new engine and all this stuff. So I should be able to get this engine running a lot sooner than I thought. So that's really, really good news. I'm super excited for that. Oh yeah, I forgot to show the head. So the head is actually the thing that's probably in the best condition out of everything else. So kind of see the combustion chambers. So from here, I'll just kind of go over quickly just some of the parts that are in the engine. Again, it's going to be down in the description. I'll put a list of parts, but just so you guys can kind of see it. So with the head, I think I already talked about this, but basically the entire head is pretty much all Bisimoto. So Bisimoto cam gear. I have Bisimoto valve springs, retainers, stage 2 camshaft, and valves. So the valves, I think I did order oversized valves. If anything, just the intakes are 1 millimeter oversized and the exhaust might be standard size, but I think both are 1 millimeter oversized. From there, I did get the head resurfaced. The machine shop put in new valve stem seals and all that good stuff. When I was ordering all of the stuff for the valve train, we actually got in contact with Bisimoto, and he actually spec'd out these custom Aries pistons for this engine build. So if you guys are interested in like building an F series engine and you guys are looking for like valve train components or looking to get like some piston setup, honestly hit up Bisimoto. He was really cool about it. They were actually really, really helpful. And these pistons are actually ordered through Aries. So these are Aries pistons. They're 12.5 to 1 compression, and they're pretty much specifically spec'd out for this F23 bottom end with the F22 head. I know the website, I know like a lot of the stuff for the F series engines has gone away from the website and you can't really find it anymore. I know a lot of people have been hitting me up where I got all that stuff. And back in the day, I did order this all off of Bisimoto's website. But from what I've been hearing, a lot of that stuff is not on the website anymore. So my recommendation to you guys, if you guys are looking for F22 parts and stuff like that, hit up Bisimoto, because I think they still do provide the stuff. I just don't think they like advertise it on their website. So I think if you hit them up, they should be able to provide you with their suppliers, because they're not actually the company that like manufactures the parts. They actually use other companies with kind of like custom spec'd out components. So for instance, this cam, it's a Bisimoto cam, but basically he outsources it to webcams. So it's a webcam regrind, but spec'd out to Bisimoto's preference of a camshaft regrind. So, I mean, again, he's not really the one who manufactures it, and it's not really on his website, but hit him up and let him know what you're interested in, and I'm pretty sure he should be able to hook you up with a supplier and get you the parts that you actually need. So yeah, hit him up, let him know that we are still interested in these F-Series engines. They're super helpful over there. But other than that, I mean, back to the engine. So again, these are Bisimoto spec'd Aries pistons, 12.5-to-1 compression. They're 86.5 millimeter bore, so they're just bored over 0.5 millimeter. The rods, you can't see them obviously, but they're Molnar racing rods, so you can kind of look into them, but Molnar actually makes rods specifically for the F23. Some of the only ones I was able to find out there. From the research that I did, Molnar rods are actually really good quality, so look into them. But I'm pretty sure Wiseco and stuff make rods for this. Another thing you guys can do, since the F23, so if you guys are building an F23 engine, the F23 is a 86 millimeter bore from factory, which I'm pretty sure is the same as a K series, K20. So something that a lot of people do is actually run K20 pistons in this just reversed to actually, so like since the intake and exhaust are opposite, you just flip them over and you should be able to run those pistons. I did kind of see some stuff about that, so look into that if you guys are interested. Should be a little bit cheaper for a little bump in compression. And other than that, there are way more options, way more aftermarket options for K20 pistons. So just keep that in mind if you do have a F23 bottom end. Other than that, in the bottom end, I do have main studs, ARP main studs. I do have King race bearings, and yeah, pretty basic stuff. So it is all built internals, built head. So, I mean, this thing was running really good, but we didn't even have it tuned. It was on a really conservative tune. Like I said, it was pretty rich the entire time that I was driving it and breaking it in. So I didn't really get to feel the full potential of this engine, which always really bummed me out. So I'm just really excited to get this thing back up and running and get it tuned for real and actually feel the potential of this thing. So excited. So make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and keep an eye out for this thing. All right, here we are. Got the block all wrapped up. Right now it's upside down, so cylinders are on the bottom, but yeah, got it all sealed up. But I did seal it along the actual engine stand, so that should be all sealed up. From here, I'm gonna throw the head inside. Transmission should be fine out here, and from here, all of these parts should be fine out here. I'm probably gonna throw the clutch and stuff inside with the head. But yeah, there we go. So honestly, today turned out way better than I thought. There was way less damage than I thought. Honestly, I thought there was gonna be something wrong just because of all the blow by that I was seeing before. But overall, I'm super stoked on the condition of the engine. That just makes my life a whole lot easier moving forward, because now I just need to put a bunch of work into the chassis, not so much into the engine. So that's all good. Like I said, I just need to buy a couple of parts and address a couple of things with this engine before I actually assemble it, put it back in the car. But yeah, there we go, guys. So if I didn't answer something that you guys were curious about, or if you guys have any other questions about the engine or why I chose the parts I chose, make sure you guys hit the comments down below. I will try to answer all of the comments. I know I haven't been the best with answering everything, but yeah, like I said, when I crashed the car, I was just kind of out of it. I kind of dropped all my social media and everything and just kind of did my own thing. I kind of stayed away from the cars and stayed away from the build, so I wasn't really responding to too many people, so I apologize about that. But again, I'm getting right back into it, swinging. I know today isn't really much progress. I'm just kind of seeing all the damage that I previously did, but yeah, overall, we're keeping the ball rolling. So if you guys are enjoying the content, if you guys did learn something new today, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. See you guys in the next one. Later.